What would Nottinghamshire have been like 14,000 years ago in the Ice Age? Almost impossible to imagine, isn't it? Unless you've seen the Ice Age movies, in which case I know what you're thinking Nottinghamshire was like. However, archaeologists working in a field by a roundabout in Newark are trying to find out whether actually that's the reality or not. BBC Radio Nottingham's Sarah Julian is with them, trowel in hand, I'm guessing here, Sarah.
Good morning. Well, I'm standing by the side of the A46 at the moment. I don't know if they'd let me loose with a trowel. I think you need to go on a training course. But anyway, this is where the old Foss Way meets the new A46. It's that triangular-shaped field as you approach the Foundern roundabout. And I've driven up here many times, but had no idea that this is a site of massive significance for archaeologists, as you'll hear. They've produced some images of what it might have looked like in the Ice Age. It's a little bit like the films, but you can see the Trent on there, which was there in that period, and animals crossing the Trent, and people in skins hunt them as they cross the river. And that seems to be why so much stuff has been discovered here, as they dropped flints after their hunting. Now, Daryl Garton knows all about this. She's the project archaeologist here. Good morning.
Morning.
So you initially found, when the preparation for the road was going on, flints, significant flints. What do they tell us about this site?
Well, they were complete surprised because we didn't know about the material from this date at all. And when we found them, they were on the surface from something we call field walking. And there was an area about 10 metres across, about the size of 3 or 4 rooms, where there was a scatter of these white long blades and flakes.
From the Ice Age?
From the Ice Age. And it was because of the style of the flint tools that we immediately knew that there was something very rare and unusual. And
so how special is this site?
Incredibly special. We know that there are various sites around the country, but this is maybe one of 25 or 30 sites of this date. It's also one of the biggest within this country, the most extensive. And
you found not just a few flints, you found many.
Altogether, there's been well over 500 flints, but mostly on other sites elsewhere, you find maybe 1 or 2, maybe a handful. So it's the fact that the people dropped flints from over a huge area of this site.
Now, last week, people may have seen more trenches here as you do more field work and digging and lying on your tummies, scratching in the ground. What are you looking for now?
All right. Well, the flints that we've found on the surface are obviously in disturbed context. So what we were doing was digging deeper holes to see if we could find flints that were buried. These flints, we think, were buried by sand dunes that were deposited right at the end of the last Ice Age, about 12,000 years ago.
Amazing, amazing. Well, if you come back a little bit later, you'll be able to hear from one of the community archaeologists who's been working on this, and he's just popped off home to go and fetch me some of these flints to handle, and they are 11,000 years old. Can you imagine holding something that's 11,000 years old in your hands? And I'm quite clumsy, so I better be careful.
That's even older than me. All right, well, more from Sarah a little later. Well, let's hear more from BBC Radio Nottingham, Sarah Julian. You heard how much it's raining at the moment, just next to the A46 at Farndon, but it's a very important roundabout. Well, the bit next to the roundabout, anyway, there. It's part of an archaeological dig where Sarah is, discovering what was happening in Nottinghamshire 14,000 years ago. And the people who are working on this dig say it could be one of the most significant sites in the country in the rain. Sarah has been, well, looking into this, quite literally, haven't you? Looking into the ditches today. Wet ditches.
That's right. It's a bit muddy. I don't know if you can hear.
Oh,
field walking.
Yeah. Sticking to your boots, that, isn't
it? We're looking for things that date back 14,000 years. Incredible to think, but it has been found here. In fact, many flint tools, over 500 of them have been found in this field, making it very significant. So it's a sort of triangular shaped field where the A46 meets the old A46, the Foss Way. And Daryl Garton is with me. She's lead archaeologist here, and John Miller holding the brolly. He's from FARI, the Farndon Archaeology Group. Good morning.
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 And it's not unusual to find things if we tromp along in the field here.
It certainly isn't. We can walk along here this morning, and there's quite a few finds, quite a few opportunities, and it's just laying on here the surface for us to look for and to find. And
have you found things?
I've found quite a few, and it's always fascinating to pick something up that's not been touched for 14,000 years, but it's been part of this process of looking at the site and investigating it and trying to find out everything we can about it. It's an extra little piece to the jigsaw that we can add to our knowledge. And
so a £50,000 Heritage Lottery grant has helped the groups get together and do this. And Daryl here in the rain is holding something from 14,000 years ago, which was fashioned by human hands. What is it?
It's a flint point. It originally would have been mounted on a end of a long wooden rod or taken as a spear, and it would have been used for hunting. So we know that the age of the flint, because of its style, because the way that they've made the point, and originally it would have had a good sharp slicing edge to slice through muscle and stop animals very, very quickly.
You're an archaeologist, this is your period, but to hold something like that, is that still exciting for you?
It is actually pretty special because material like this is really very, very rare. We find it here, we find it in Creswell Crags, about 35 kilometres away, and that's the sort of day journey that the Ice Age hunters might have made between their campsites.
And what do you know about these people who were living here on this site 14,000 years ago? In fact, were they living here or just passing through?
They were passing through. They will have come across the North Sea, where the North Sea doesn't exist. They come across Doggerland.
So there wouldn't have been a sea there?
That's right. So they passed through from Doggerland, past this site, following the herds that were migrating across through Creswell Crags up to Derbyshire.
So what's next? You've been looking at sand dunes, which are buried under the ground here, trying to date them. What's next for the site?
Well, we've got scientists working on trying to date the sand grains and also look at the sediments to find out. It's actually very hard to distinguish between a sand dune and a river sand. So people from British Geological Survey are helping us do this. We've taken samples and we're awaiting the results.
Okay, and we might find something this morning, but if we do, we've got to log it, have we, and set it all out?
Absolutely. 2 centimetre accuracy, so we'll have to go and get the survey kit.
In the rain, yeah. I think I've just found some old stones and bits of clay pottery so far. I'll keep looking.
Yeah, keep looking. 14,000 years old you're looking for.